Good evening. I call this meeting of the Owen J. Roberts School Board of Directors regular business meeting to order. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join us in a moment of silence as we reflect on those serving in the United States Armed Forces, both past and present, the elected leaders for the state of Pennsylvania, and elected leaders of our nation. We have much to be thankful for in our community. Color guard, post colors.
Harry, colors. Ready, up. Color guard, right turn, march. Forward, march. Color guard, halt. Post. Colors. Ready, base. Forward, march.
Please be seated. Okay. Executive session announcement. The Board of School Directors met on the following dates in executive session to discuss items in one or more of the following areas: personnel or legal matters on April 3, 2023. We are up to the superintendent's report, and it's my privilege to welcome Dr. Kathy Soter in this evening, who is sitting in for Dr. Stout. Dr. Soter.
Thank you. I think we are going to start with the student report, and we have Dan Greenspan, Student Government Executive Council Vice President.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. It's really good to be back for my second time at a school board meeting. High school students are now in the fourth and final quarter of the year. Final quarter 3 grades were posted to Skyward last Friday. As the end of the year draws near, there are a number of important assessments on the horizon. Our International Baccalaureate students will be starting their comprehensive exams on April 28th. Advanced placement students begin their exams on May 1st, and SATs are on May 6th. Keystone exams begin for our literature, algebra, and biology students on May 15th. Families are encouraged to review this week's Wildcat Weekly Update for information about modified schedules on some of the Keystone days. The afternoons, evenings, and weekends continue to be a busy time at the high school. Spring sports are up and running. The high school recently inducted new members into the French, German, Latin, and Spanish World Language Honor Societies. Our coding crew has been testing their skills at local hackathons. We had 4 Odyssey of the Mind teams compete at the state competition, with each team finishing in second. As a result, 28 high school students will be traveling to Michigan State University at the end of May for the international competition. Finally, we are eagerly looking forward to some of our favorite end-of-year activities. This year's prom will take place on May 6th, and senior-specific activities begin on Tuesday, May 30th, culminating on Friday, June 9th with graduation. Students are excited for our PTA-sponsored Spring Fling dance on Friday, April 28th. On April 20th, the middle school will induct about 75 8th grade students into our chapter of the National Junior Honor Society. Congratulations for all of the students being recognized with this honor. Our middle school Odyssey of the Mind teams recently competed in the state finals in Lock Haven. We are proud to announce that 2 of our teams finished in first place and another finished in second. As a result, all 3 of these teams have qualified to participate in the World Finals competition at Michigan State University from May 24th through May 27th. Best of luck to all of our middle school participants. On Tuesday, March 28th, students from OJR-MS attended the Junior Girls in STEM Symposium hosted by Kutztown University. Students rotated through hands-on science experiments led by the science faculty and students of various colleges and St. Luke's Hospital. Students operated a ground-penetrating radar device, extracted DNA, assessed the health of a stream, planted seeds, generated computer simulations and 3D models, and much more to introduce these young ladies to a world filled with countless STEM opportunities. A big thanks to Kutztown University for hosting this extraordinary experience for our students. Spring is in the air in each of our elementary schools. Students and teachers are preparing for PSSA testing, spring concerts, art shows, academic competitions, Special Olympics, and other exciting end-of-year events. Schools are also looking forward to celebrating teacher and staff appreciation, along with bus driver and cafeteria manager appreciation in early May. Additionally, every elementary school will be conducting an end-of-year assessments and communicating with parents how much growth our students have made throughout the school year. Specifically, reading fluency and comprehension, written expression, and mathematics are the key areas that are actively monitored and assessed throughout the school year. Report cards will be available through Skyward on the last day of the school year. As always, if there are any questions or concerns, please reach out to your child's teacher or principal. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. On tonight's agenda, the board, administration, and community will be recognizing our teachers with our Teacher Appreciation Week resolution. And as Dan stated, this is the beginning of the fourth quarter, and there are lots of end-of-the-year activities going on in all of the schools. April 21st is a professional development day, and therefore no school for students on that day. April 26th is the annual Farm Day, where our high school students welcome our younger students for an introduction into our agriculture program. Our next town hall meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 27th at 5:30 p.m. This meeting will be held in the Warwick Building. Further details can be found on the district website. The junior-senior prom is scheduled for Saturday, May 6th. Details can be found on the high school webpage. This year's Special Olympics event will be held on Wildcat Field, Friday, May 12th. And finally, we have 5 retirements to acknowledge tonight. So lots of smiling faces in our audience tonight. We're going to start with French Creek with Mrs. Dina Warzanek. She's in the back. You can stand up, it's okay. Dina is retiring after 37 years of dedicated service in the field of education. Dina began her career at the Woods School before joining the Chester County Intermediate Unit as an emotional support teacher. Dina was then hired by OJR in August of 1988. As a learning support teacher at East Coventry, East Vincent, North Coventry, and French Creek, Dina has worked with diverse groups of students with unique strengths and needs. Her tireless efforts have helped these children to find success and reach their fullest potential. Additionally, Dina is also French Creek's Special Education Department Chair, and she has held the role of lead teacher for our district's ESY program for the past several years. Her exceptional leadership, skills, and experience make her a trusted and valued resource for her colleagues and supervisors. In addition to demonstrating a high level of professionalism at all times, Dina has a wonderful sense of humor and a quick wit. She will be deeply missed by those who've had the opportunity to work with and learn from her. As Dina begins the next chapter of her life, she looks forward to spending time with her family, including her husband, Joe, son, Ben, daughter, Allie, and granddog, Brew. Congratulations and best wishes, Dina. Our next retiree is from the high school, Beth Seiler. You can stand. You can stand. After teaching for 4 years at the Lanier Middle School in Texas, Beth Seiler traveled north to teach for 1 year at Pat's Grove Middle School, and then found her home at Owen J. Roberts High School, where she has taught English and language arts for 28 years. Ms. Seiler has instructed primarily freshmen and juniors during her tenure, notably proving to be a valued member of the advanced placement language and composition teaching community. Her influence upon students was not limited to 4 classroom walls, however. Whether she was coaching the high school girls cheerleading squad at the onset of her career or directing the spring play performances for more than the last decade, her efforts have consistently demonstrated her enthusiastic spirit. The high school English department will miss her collaborative, creative contributions as well as her Southern drawl, but we wish her every happiness in her future endeavors. And we just have a small contingency from North Coventry this evening. So we are recognizing 3 professionals from North Coventry, and we're going to start with Sue Grasshoff. Sue has been with the district for 25 years and first started working in the original North Coventry building, where she has been the school counselor since 1998. Sue previously taught math and science to adolescents in Coatesville and was a special education teacher. Sue lights up when working with children and has a gift in helping students resolve issues and feel better. Thank you, Sue. Next from North Coventry is Sally Lipkowitz. Sally has been with the district for 13 years and grew up in the area, so OJR has been her home for many years. Both of her children are graduates of OJR, and Sally's mom was a teacher at Kimberton Wardroff. Sally has served as both an autistic teacher and speech and language therapist. Sally is passionate about giving students all that they need to learn all that they can. Thank you, Sally. And last but not least, Lori Scheib. Lori Scheib has been a teacher for 36 years, having started her career in 1988. She has worked at North Coventry the entire time. Lori is a constant supporter of all things PTO. She can be seen at nearly every PTO meeting and event. She willingly shared her expertise and creative ideas with her team over the years. Lori has mentored many student teachers throughout the years. She has made great connections with her students and helped many who struggled to feel successful. She has always used humor and songs to brighten the days at North Coventry. In fact, Lori wrote and led various first grade shows. And one last note, did you know that Lori helped start the tradition of elementary nights at OJR football games? Madam President, this concludes my report, and I believe we will recess to acknowledge our retirees.
Yes, we're going to take a few moment recess. If our retirees can join us out in the hallway, we would appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. And we are back. Thank you, everyone. We do have everyone, correct? Okay. We are moving on to, Dr. Soto, you're done with your superintendent's report. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 5.1, public comment on agenda items. There are 2 opportunities for public comment. The first section is for information, proposals, and statements from individuals or delegations pertaining to items on the agenda that will be voted on tonight. Speakers are to indicate your name, township of residence, and the agenda item on the agenda to which your comments are addressed. Speakers will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Please understand that this is not a time for dialogue with the board. Rather, the board will listen to all comments and consider them in future deliberations. The second section will be at the end of the meeting and is for residents to speak on any item. Also, if you have any question for the school board, please email all Board of School Directors at schoolboardmembers@ojrsd.net, and you will receive a written response. For anyone online, if you would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand function. When it is your turn to speak, please state your name and township of residence.
All right, Heather McCreary, East Coventry. I have a couple issues. The first one is item number, agenda item 7.2, acknowledgement of the receipt of the bus driver report. I don't know what this is because nothing is attached, but it seems like a good time to ask you guys if you checked out the bus drivers. That also goes to agenda item number 13.14, which is the budget, because the bus drivers are still not paid close to what neighboring districts are. Today, I know there were double runs that had to take place. I wish you guys would check that out because I would remind everybody here, many of you ran on late start and it's election year. And the reason why you said you couldn't do it was because of the buses, but there's been nothing at any of the meetings to actually talk about this bus driver issue. That was the reason why you didn't do the late start, right? And in addition to the fact that there's about 100 bus drivers, the majority of which probably live in this district. And so when you raise their taxes right now, no matter how little you're going to raise it, they are still in this district dependent upon the salary that you are paying them. My other comments go to agenda item 13.14. And just a reminder, because I talk about it all the time, the things that have been brought up over time with a couple people that have spoken and myself, the staffing. There's more health and PE teachers than any other special area across the board in the district. You guys eliminated the world language in the elementary, and the math teachers went down because of the staffing from COVID with no effort to bring it up, with the bad math scores that you guys yourself put up. And again, no plan to go back to talk about it. Somebody else actually brought up the gifted teachers too, not just me. And the last thing, my favorite one that I always bring up to you guys is staffing to do either IB the right way or AP capstone, because right now, despite what you guys are raising the taxes or not raising them, the Owen J. Roberts students cannot get to the top academic program on either route, not the IB diploma, which is what Downingtown STEM has, nor the AP capstone, which only costs $20,000. Thank you.
No comments online? Thank you. We are moving on to board committee reports. A working session was held on April 3, 2023 at 6 p.m. The following committees met at this time: Curriculum and Special Education, Finance, Buildings and Grounds, and Legislative and Policy. Agenda item 6.2, Chester County Intermediate Unit. Mrs. Munson is not here today. Did she submit a report to anyone to be read, to the best of our knowledge? No? Okay. 6.3, Curriculum and Special Education Committee. Mrs. Sabo.
The Curriculum Committee met on April 3rd working session. There were 2 items on the agenda. Dr. Soder reviewed the process for Flexible Instruction Day application. This is a 3-year application for schools to have cyber snow days. This application is on the agenda for full board consideration tonight. Dr. Monahan reviewed the Haggerty resource for primary classrooms in the phonemic awareness skills. This will be included in the reading workshop time beginning next year. Planning continues for the Jump Start program, and elementary students who are receiving additional math and reading support will be invited to the 2-week summer program. The Curriculum Committee will meet during the working session on May 8th. The elementary STEAM teachers will provide an update about the new course. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabo. 6.4, Finance, Building and Grounds Committee. Is Mr. Harmanos?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So For the Finance Building and Grounds Committee report, I'd just like to report that the Finance Committee has met for 5 board working sessions this year between November and April to work on the budget. And in addition to the 5 working sessions, we've also met independently of the working sessions on 3 additional occasions for a total of 8 public meetings to discuss budgetary items. All the presentations and documentations are available for the public on the district website, on the finance department page, as well as on board docs backup for the individual meetings. Tonight, we will have several agenda items that we'll be voting for. 7.3 is acknowledged receipt of the proposed tax resolution. 13.12 is approval of resolution authorizing notice of proposed final budget display and advertising. 13.13 is approval of the final budget notice. 13.14 is approval of proposed 2023-2024 governmental and proprietary funds budget. The final budgets for next year will be on the May board meeting agenda for approval. And that is all I have to report at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Harmonos. Legislative and Policy Committee, Dr. Melnizak.
Good evening. LMP met during the working session on April 3rd, and there are 3 items on the agenda tonight. Item 7.4 includes the acknowledgement of 5 policies for approval for first reading. These include provisions to 3 current policies and the creation of 2 new policies. Specifically, these new policies involve home education students and how they can become more participating in various activities of our school during the day. Items 13.7 includes the acknowledgement of 6 policies for approval for second reading, and item 13.8 includes the acknowledgement of 1 policy for deletion for second reading. And our next meeting should be held around May 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Melnizak. Personnel Committee, Dr. Rotoli.
The Personnel Committee has been meeting with the Confidentials Group, and we are working on an agreement which we hope to have on the board agenda for May. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rotoli. Agenda item recommended routine matters, 7.1, motion to approve recommended routine matters, consent items 7.2 through 7.5. For a motion to, the board will make a motion to approve the following routine matters, which are items 7.2 through 7.5 as action consent items. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. DiMarino, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 8, recommend routine matters. Acknowledge the receipt of donations, contributions, and gifts. This last month, we received a donation from the East Coventry PTO of $890 for field trip to Da Vinci Science Center travel program. And in East Vincent, the East Vincent PTA donated $500 for an in-house field trip to Indian Run Company and $1,095 for a Dr. Reese's PlayFit assembly. Do I have a motion to accept the contributions, donations, and gifts as presented?
So moved.
Dr. Melnizak, do I have a second? Dr. Rotoli, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Number 9, approval of routine items, routine matters, consent item 9.2. Do I have a motion to approve the following routine matter, item 9.2, as an action consent item?
So moved.
Mrs. Sabo, a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Doherty, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 10, board discussion. Does anyone have anything they would like to discuss at this time?
I am kind of curious about any update on bus drivers, as this is something that we just haven't resolved. I know that Mrs. Crumrine has been working on it, so could you give us any information you may have that may be new, or where we are with this?
Sure, absolutely. We are definitely working on it. So Chris Gray, the Director of Transportation, and I met again last week, and we anticipate a proposal from Nikki Badorf, who is the Regional Manager, sometime this week. We're hoping for that. So as soon as we have that, we'll cost it out and we'll share it with the board.
How many buses are we still consistently short?
We're consistently short 5.
Okay,
But if there are call-outs on any given day, that adds to that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Then it would
right,
be more than
addition.
5.
okay,
The 5 that you can plan ahead for are easier to manage, obviously.
right, okay. Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Mrs. Carmine, do we have any old business?
No.
Thank you. Agenda item 12, new business, approval of personnel matters, consent items. 12.1, motion to approve personnel matters, consent items 12.2 through 12.7. Board will make a motion to approve the following personnel matters, which are items 12.2 through 12.7 as action consent items, subject to the proviso as presented. The board reserves the right to reduce and/or discontinue any appointment and payment herein should any future events, whether known or unknown, make it impossible or impractical to implement the extracurricular activity. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Sabo, do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. DiMarino, any discussion?
I just want to say, we had some wonderful teachers retiring tonight, and I personally have had a lot of interaction with 3 of them from North Coventry, and really appreciate all their time and effort and commitment to our students. Some great people retiring tonight.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 13.1, approval of Teacher Appreciation Week. I will be asking for a motion to approve Teacher Appreciation Week resolution. I think we can all agree that our teaching staff in the Owen J. Roberts School District is incredibly educated, professional, dedicated, and by this board trusted and valued, and we appreciate the work they do, and I think I speak on behalf of the rest of the board when we wholeheartedly resolve to appreciate them this week or this month, and we look forward to see what happens or is happening in individual buildings to celebrate the teachers. It's always fun to see what the kids get involved in with doing that. Do I have a motion to pass Teacher Appreciation Week resolution for May 8th through May 12th as presented?
So moved.
Mrs. DiMarino, do I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Melmazak, any discussion?
I just want to echo what you said about our amazing teaching staff and just comment that as much as we may sometimes argue up here and not always be in agreement about all the nature of the school district, the teachers are what make the school district what it is, and we really appreciate all their hard work and dedication.
Thank you, Mrs. DiMarino. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. 13.2, approval to grant diplomas to the class of 2023. Do we have a motion to approve the approval to grant diplomas to the class of 2023 as presented?
So moved.
Mrs. Sabo, do we have a second? Dr. Ratoli, any discussion? You do know I looked to make sure my kid's name was on the list, right? Because this would have been an awful time to figure it out that he wasn't. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 13.3, approval of out-of-state overnight student trips. May I have a motion to approve the out-of-state overnight trips as presented?
So moved.
Dr. Melmazak, a second?
Second.
Mr. Chester, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? The motion passes. Okay, where am I to? 13.4, ratification approval of conference attendance. May I have a motion for the ratification or approval of conference attendance as presented?
So moved.
Ooh.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Chester and Mrs. Sabo, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Surprises me every time. Okay. 13.5, approval of flexible instruction days. May I have a motion for the approval of flexible instructional days as presented and approved by the Curriculum and Special Education Committee at the working session held on April 3, 2023? Dr. Otoli, do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. DiMarino, any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. 13.6, the approval of the 2023-2024 staffing recommendations. Do I have a motion to approve the staffing recommendations for the 2023-24 school year as presented? Staffing recommendations were presented at the March 13, 2023 working session and acknowledged receipt of at the March 27, 2023 school board meeting.
So moved.
Dr. Melnizak, a second? Dr. Rotoli, any discussion?
Yeah, I was wondering about these approvals. So for an example, the budget is not fully approved today, but if we pass this staffing recommendations, does this mean that there can be no further discussion about these staff positions? And that this would be finished with? And the reason is because, that I'm asking this is because when we looked at the Dean of Students for middle school, I was a little bit shocked, I guess, when I saw the information about how discipline has been really a huge problem as far as the number of problems that have been occurring. And so I read through the proposal about the Dean of Students, but I just was unsettled a little bit about whether or not this is all encompassing, because, obviously if you have many students being suspended, for example, obviously that is not a deterrent any longer. And so I was just concerned about whether or not this really was, for me, I did not fully vet this whole thing and go into all like what policies maybe would be impacted or whatever. So I just am a little unsettled about this staffing, about that. So I didn't really know what my recourse would be, whether or not if I agree to this today, that this is set in stone, or what happens. So does anyone have any comments on that?
Well, I think to answer the last part of your question about whether or not it involves or changes board policy, it's my understanding that it doesn't. The Dean of Students would be responsible for enforcing school policy, not necessarily changing
Yeah,
school
I
policy.
guess I mean, what
Okay.
I'm saying is that whether or not we should have been looking at changing the policies
right.
is
Is
in
the- is
addition
this
to
the
this,
right
because
step?
is this the right step
Okay.
to order to change this? Because, this is just from my viewpoint. When you look at the job description of the Dean of Students, obviously, I'm sure Mr. Stoltzfus has been, and his assistant principals have been attempting to do all those things in the last few years. So, and also I did notice that on there, the end of the description just said, it would be evaluated at the end of the year to see whether or not this would continue, but it, doesn't really have any, how are we going to evaluate that? How are we going to know? Because if we decide to go forward and make a full-time position about that, that's another administrator, that's another salary, that's a big commitment. So how do we know how we're evaluating it and who's evaluating it? Like, these just are questions I didn't know the answers to. Not that I'm necessarily even challenging it, I just don't fully understand it. And I find that difficult to put my name on it when I don't fully understand all the ramifications.
I had similar questions about this position, would like to hear more discussion of it. It's not an administrator,
Correct.
so the person doesn't have the authority to suspend. And it sounded like what they were asking for was more eyes on the students, and adding one person who's going to process and contact parents, I didn't think really addressed the problems that were raised. I'd like to hear more discussion of it as well.
So what are our options? If we approve this as stated, we are,
Well,
sorry.
the one issue is you're approving the position, but you're not filling the position, so it's still going to have to come back to the board for the hire or appointment of an individual to fill that position. So you would have the opportunity to revise a job description, revise, separate and apart, revise policy, review policy. That's one matter. The other, in theory, you can amend a motion to remove that position and defer consideration of that position. But again, even if you approve it tonight, it still has to come back to you for a second vote to fill the position.
If we remove the position, so that this position is not, as I understand it, a .1 position, it is .6 with the other .4 being a classroom, that this particular, the understanding is this person would also then be a classroom teacher for .4. If we remove the position, how does that affect the staffing numbers for the .4, what we need for the classroom?
So it would not impact that because, for example, if this were an existing staff member, then a long-term substitute would be hired for that other portion of what that person would be coming out of the classroom. So it would not impact. And, as Mr. Suber said, you have the gift of a bit of time with this one, as opposed to some of the other positions that are on the staffing that we would probably want to post and move forward with as soon as possible.
Right, and I think the one other thing that I would add to that is that it's not a permanently contracted position. It is a teacher on assignment for 1 year at a .6. So it's not in the budget permanently.
Is it 1 year or half the year?
1 year.
1 year.
I would just like to hear more discussion about that role, and if that's really going to address the problem, and if we could have a report prior to next June as to if it's been successful or not.
Would it be possible to remove that position from this particular approval, but yet still approve it if we get more information or the information that satisfies us before the budget is finalized in June? Or May, I mean, whatever.
I would defer to Mr. Subaru on that. I think a motion it would have to be amended.
Oh,
The
yeah,
staffing would have to be amended.
you would have to, someone would have to make a motion to amend to remove that position from the motion on the floor.
But we can add it back.
And you
back
can
at
add it back.
At a further meeting if we wanted to.
When was it effective?
It would be for the new school year,
Okay,
July
yeah,
1st.
you would have time, and I'm assuming it's in the preliminary budget. It can always be added or deleted from the preliminary budget between now and final budget
Sure,
adoption.
it is in the proposed preliminary budget, the .6.
Okay, well, as I said, I've also heard, you hear people talk, everyone's got their own perspectives, but I have heard that there are teachers and staff people at the middle school who are very uncomfortable with the disciplinary issues that are on right now. And so I guess my point is that I just want to make sure we're just not trying to throw a half-time person in to do something that really we didn't do a good job of really looking at policies and seeing why suspension is not a deterrent and things like that before we go forward with it. That's just my view on it.
So then I guess the question is, does someone want to make a motion to pass the staffing recommendation for the 2023-24 or an amended motion for the staffing recommendation?
I would move that.
Is there a second for an amendment, or
I would second that.
a second for Dr. Rattoli? So then we are
So
voting
you
on the
vote on the motion to amend.
Okay, so do I, any further discussion on the motion to amend?
I would
getting
just
it.
add that my feeling is not that the middle school doesn't need help and support. It's, does this address what the principal is asking for?
Right.
I would just like to add that, are we going to come to a different conclusion later on from this point tonight that's going to lead us to say that we don't want this position? So I'm just thinking, are we just, is this an unnecessary step if, I think this is a first step to trying to address the problem that currently exists. So I think at the end of the day, we are going to move forward with this, but I think what we do have the time to put parameters in place to evaluate this position. I think there's certain things that we do want more detail on, but does removing this vote tonight just delay that process even more? I mean, I'm just worried about, whether or not it's, I don't know. I just don't know that we need to remove it. We can have further discussion on it. It's something that I think is a first step towards addressing it. Obviously, there is a problem, but I think that we, after tonight, can go forward with solidifying more detail around what this position is going to do and what evaluation we would like to see in order to make this, or to see where we are at the end of the year with this position. I mean, that's just my thought.
I have to agree with you.
I agree with Dan.
And additionally, I know a component of this is so that the principal there gets not to be involved as right now. Apparently, the principal is spends like a half of a day on these minor kind of infractions. So this position would free him up to be able to do other tasks that he is assigned. But I kind of agree with you. If we pass this motion to amend, what information are we going to get and when? And is that going to be sufficient to change course for this position?
I agree. I'm hesitant to amend to not pass the Dean of Students. I'll tell you, I was hesitant about the position also, but I think when we have an administrator come and say that they need more, our job is to understand, what they're asking of us. And maybe this position needs to look different than what the job description is, or maybe we need to better understand what Mr. Stoltzfus is looking for. But to take this position away so we can't start having the discussion around what we think this should look like together, and then also how do we evaluate it within the year, I would hate to put that off longer.
I'll just give a little pushback in that. I think I agree with Kathy on this, in that if we have the time to have further discussion, let's take the time, right? There's no rush to approve this position today if we can come back and approve it before the final budget. I'm a little hesitant around this role as well. I think the problem is a little bit larger than that, and while I think we will ultimately approve this position as a short-term solution, we can, in that time that we have, talk about what's a longer-term strategy to address our disciplinary issues. But if we have the time to take now, why not just take it and fully vet this thing, so that we have at least 2 board members who are uncomfortable with it as it is, take some time to make them comfortable, so we make a decision that everyone can get behind.
Does it stop us from having discussion around, though, if we approve this? I guess is my question. If everybody's saying, like, there's a likelihood that we're not going to take this position away, is there anything, if we pass this, that stops us from having those discussions anyway?
Well, the only discussion we then get to have is, our next step in this process is the approval of the hire for that position.
So then we get to look at what the job description is, what's expected of that.
But at that point, we've done the work to interview candidates for that job and find a qualified candidate. So it moves the task down the line, and other people have done work toward that goal. And so I wouldn't want to waste resources if this is not the path the board is looking to take. I understand where Mrs. DiMarino is coming from. I struggle with the idea that we acknowledge that there is a discipline problem. We want to make change, and the change that is being proposed is a punitive change and not a behavioral change. And so I know I, for one, need to feel or to understand how these things are moving together forward, and not just a punitive. And I think the answer that we've heard is, by taking the punitive piece off of Mr. Stoltzfus's plate, it gives more opportunity to keep these problems from happening, and that is the goal. But I do understand where the conversation is, especially with a line about evaluating this position to continue forward, what that evaluation looks like, and how do we know that this has been a success? What are the numbers that we're looking for, and is it reasonable to measure that success in a year, or are we going to hear at a year, we need more time to see whether or not this has made a real difference? And if that's the answer, that's okay, but we need to be ready for that answer. So I'm going to put a pin in this. We have a motion on the floor. Let's go ahead and vote on the motion to amend. Am I using the correct word? Okay, so if a yes vote on this motion is we are going to amend, a no vote is we are not going to change anything, and we are going to take the original motion to a vote. Okay. Okay. Does it have to be, should we do a roll call, Mrs.?
We might want to, only
Okay.
because I'm hearing opposing viewpoints,
Okay.
so I think I would feel better knowing.
Okay, so again, a yes vote is that we are looking to amend, a no vote is that we are moving the motion forward as it was originally presented. Everyone understands? Okay, thank you. So, Mrs. Carmine, roll, please.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Sabo?
No.
Dr. Bertoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
No, Mrs. Munson? Dr. Melicek?
No.
Mr. Hermanos?
Nay.
Mr. Doherty?
No.
Mrs. DiMarino?
Yes.
Mr. Chester?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So the motion fails because it
Yeah,
has to
the
pass.
motion
It has
fails
to pass.
because
Okay.
it's 4-4.
Right. Okay, so we are going to vote on the original motion that was on the floor, and that was seconded, correct? Okay. Do we have any additional discussion on the original motion?
So I am going to ask about this. So
Yes.
if, I don't, if I say something I'm not supposed to, please stop me. So if the same thing happens with this motion, then none of the staffing passes.
No, because we only.
Yeah, she's correct.
Okay.
Yes,
She
that's
is correct.
Okay, well, we're going to go to a vote anyway. Does anyone have any additional discussion?
Yeah, I was going to
if
say,
it
hold
fails?
on.
Because the motion to amend failed, the Dean of Students position is still in the recommendations. The original motion was to approve the recommendations as presented. So if that fails, that's all of the recommendations.
Okay. So is there any additional discussion on the original motion?
I just wish we had had more time to talk about the intent of that position and if it's really what the principal needs there.
Well, and I think that there is opportunity for us to ask to have, to view what the job description is going to be, and to ask for what the evaluation of that role will be.
But if it does go forward and they're starting to look and hire, it could be a time where we would have to vote, if we didn't feel comfortable with all that information, vote no to a person who's already in the works. Okay.
We certainly could ask for this to be part of the next working session so that the board has an opportunity to discuss this. We could have part of personnel at the working session on May 8th, which would be prior to the next board meeting, which would be before there would be any additional staff members hired. So, I mean, for example, approving the staffing tonight, the first time that any new staff can be hired is at the next board meeting at the end of May. So we could ask for some additional information specific to this position during the working session in early May.
I think that's a good idea.
That's reasonable.
If this position is approved tonight, we'll go ahead and post it and start looking for candidates, yeah?
I think that what we could do is wait for a posting until after the May working session and make sure that we had consensus regarding the additional information, the description, and the evaluation before bringing a candidate forward.
Okay. Good. Okay, so all in favor of passing, sorry, I don't even know what agenda item we're on. 13.6, the staffing recommendations as presented. Do we need to do a roll call?
Do we need a
We want a roll call?
Is there a
Let's go, roll call. I don't want to talk
Okay,
about it anymore.
roll
Let's
call.
roll
Is there a
call.
motion?
Mr. Chester?
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
This is the original staffing as presented. Mrs. DiMarino?
No.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Harmanos?
Aye.
Dr. Melnizak? Mrs. Peterson?
Aye.
Dr. Rotoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabo?
Yes.
So the
The
motion
ayes have it.
passes. Thank you. Okay. 13.7. Correct, yes. 13.7, approval of policies for second reading. May I have a motion to approve the policies for second reading as presented?
So moved.
Dr. Melnizak, may I have a second? Second. Dr. Rotoli, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. 13.8, approval of policy for deletion for second reading. May I have a motion to approve policy for deletion for second reading as presented?
So moved.
Dr. Melnizak.
Second.
Mrs. Sabo, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes.
He's trying so hard.
And when I jump every time when I hear the list. Okay, 13.9, waiver of expulsion. May I have a motion for the approval of a waiver of expulsion as presented?
I'll motion.
Mr. Doherty, do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Sabo? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 13.10, approval of settlement agreement. May I have a motion to approve the settlement agreement to be funded by insurance carrier as presented by Insurance Counsel?
So moved.
Mrs. DiMarino? Do I have a second? Second. Dr. Rotoli. The release and settlement agreement proposed for board approval fully and finally resolves any and all outstanding litigation and claims relating to a prior inappropriate interaction between a former district employee and student without any admission of liability, fault, or responsibility on the part of the district, which is and has always been expressly denied. No district funds will be expended pursuant to the proposed settlement. Is there any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We good? Okay, thank you. 13.11, ratification of homebound instruction. May I have a motion for the ratification of homebound instruction as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. DiMarino, Mrs. Sabo, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. 13.12, approval of resolution authorizing notice of proposed final budget display and advertising. May I have a motion for the approval of the resolution authorizing notice of proposed final budget display and advertising? Dr. Rotoli?
Second.
Was that you,
Yeah.
Mr. Doherty? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. 13.13, approval of final budget notice. May I have a motion for the approval of the final budget notice as presented?
I'll motion.
Mr. Doherty, do I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Melnizak, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. 13.14, the approval of proposed 2023-24 governmental and proprietary funds budget. Do I have a motion for the approval of the proposed 2023-24 governmental and proprietary funds budget as presented? Dr. Rotoli, any second?
I'll second.
Mr. Doherty, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. 13.15. I've lost a piece of paper. Okay, 13.15, sorry. the approval of the 2023-24 Chester County Intermediate Unit Number 24 budget. May I have a motion for the approval of the 2023-24 Chester County Intermediate Unit Number 24 budget as presented?
So moved.
Mrs. DiMarino, any second? Dr. Attoli, is there any discussion? Mrs. Kerman, I believe this vote needs to be via roll call, correct?
Yes, it does,
Okay,
for the intermediate unit.
yes.
Mrs. Sabo,
Yes.
Dr. Bertoli,
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson,
Yes.
Dr. Malnazar,
Yes.
Mr. Hermanos,
Aye.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Mrs. DiMarino,
Yes.
and Mr. Chester. The ayes have it.
Motion passes. 13.16, award of bids in accordance with the CCIU Joint Purchasing Agreement. May I have a motion for the approval of award of bids for the following items as presented based on the notification of the Joint Purchasing Board in accord with the Chester County Joint Purchasing Agreement as presented? Don't leave me hanging, guys.
So moved.
Mrs. DiMarino, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Doherty, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda item 13.17, approval of professional services maintenance agreement. May I have a motion for the approval of professional services maintenance agreement as presented? Dr. Malmazak?
Second.
Mrs. Sabo, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Oh, I got ahead of myself. Agenda item 14.1, public comment. Information, proposals, and statements from individuals or delegations pertaining to any item. Speakers are to indicate your name and township of residence. Speakers will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Please understand that this is not a time for dialogue with the board. Rather, the board will listen to all comments and consider them in future deliberations. Also, if you have a question for the school board, please email all board school directors at schoolboardmembers@ojrsd.net, and you will receive a written response. For anyone online who would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand function. When it is your turn to speak, please state your name and township of residence. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. Colleen Blute, North Coventry, East Coventry Township. I want to congratulate you on approving the use of the Hagerty Phonemic Awareness Program. I've used it for the past 4 years and can tell you that when it's used with fidelity and diligence, you will find great phonemic awareness skills used by all of your students. They will succeed. The second one has to do with the discipline at the middle school. I don't care what middle school you're at, you still have discipline problems. And as far as the dean of students, I don't think you need to put that right up for advertisement. I think you need to take a real close look at it. Look at your surrounding school districts and see how they're using the dean of students, and make sure the principal has some input. My other question to you is, were the suspensions in school or out of school? If it's out of school for a middle student, yeah, that's fun and games. In school, it's living. They don't like it. The third thing is, I'd like you all to turn to page 8 of your board agenda. There seems to be a typo. The effective date is 6/13/20. It is 6/13/23, if I'm correct. And the other one is on page 12, item 13.4. Your spelling of chaperoning is caperoning. Just thought I'd make that known to you guys. That's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
All right. Heather McCurry again, East Coventry. I want to take a little bit of different tact here with this public comment. I'm trying to understand whether I was on the board or not on the board. I always try to help kids and to do the right thing. And I don't know if some of you guys understand what it's like to actually be a kid in this school. Recently, I had knowledge came to me, and the things I say up here are backed up by facts. Like, I'm getting my bus driver stuff from a bus driver, right? You guys can talk to them too. But I had a person actually came across my purview that actually told adults out in the community, get this, We don't have the top engineering classes in Owen J. Roberts, nor do we have the top engineering equipment. How about that? That is now out in the community. So when I come up and say these things, I look at them from the point of a kid, right? Like when somebody gets here to high school, like it's too late to do massive rerouting changes. Some of these things have been talked about for years, right? So this is what we come forward and say this, and it's impossible as a student here to get to the top of any academic program. You can't get to the top of the IB program. There's only like 22 kids in it. A lot of money is being spent on that. Very easily, you could get to the top of the AP capstone program with the teachers that are in here and allow these students to excel in all areas, not just engineering, but that would actually, sounds like that's a problem too. But I just want to recap here. The bus drivers are not getting paid. It rages around in other schools. You can't do late start because of the bus drivers. The math scores were bad. You guys put that up yourself. I think we're still using everyday math. That has literally been a problem here for years and years and years. Why? There's no world language now, and the problem with the world language at the elementary level is when special ed kids get to the middle school, they cannot take world language at middle school. It's too late to save them and to offer them that opportunity. They are stuck going to support seminar if they need it. They never get that opportunity. So you're not touching those kids and allowing that to happen. And one of the biggest issues at the high school is the antiquated 5-day cycle here, right? If you had 6 days, then you could still have your excess gym, 2 periods a week, and then you would have 2 extra periods in that strip to actually allow other classes. I'm not the only one that feels this way. I'm okay being the only one coming up and speaking for it. I got my friends in messenger groups, texts, I can't keep up with it. I wish you guys would actually have a passion for this and do something for the kids. The bus driver problem, that's like really sad. That could easily be fixed for almost hardly any money at all. And lastly, it's a disgrace that this district does not have a post-prom. When you bring kids in and tell them this is what we expect of you, no drugs, no drinking, no misbehavior, right? They're kids, they're minors, right? We can all agree on that, right? We are the only public school around here not throwing a post-prom.
Thank you.
John Collier, East Coventry. I was here 10 months ago. The father of 3 sons, Brandon, who graduated in 15, Noah in 17, and I have a 9th grader, Brody. I want to talk about high school lacrosse in the PAC, Pioneer Athletic Conference. The history of lacrosse in this conference is that it was put into place in 2007. The first 3 years of the high school program, we were the Pac-10 champion. The next 5 years, we made it to the championship game and went into double and triple overtime with Springford for 5 consecutive years. Since that time, and around that time, we approached the current AD, Strock. And at that time, we asked for a middle school program. That year, 20 ninth graders and 10th graders were cut. We had 70 kids out. Since that time, we've had a 5-year decline in the program, as many school districts in the PAC and in the region in District 1 have added middle school programs and even 9th grade teams to their schools. We've had 4 coaches in the last 4 years, and part of that reason is the decline of our program at the high school level. We're 6 games in this year. We're currently 2-4. We have 2 wins, one against PJP, who, as we all know, starts in 9th grade, so they do not have a middle school program. The other one is Penn Ridge, a small school in Quakertown. We have 4 losses. All 4 of our losses are against school districts with 7th, 8th, and 9th grade teams. Looking at my time here, I've got 1 minute and 10 seconds left. Potts Grove is one of the 6 PAC teams that currently have a middle school program. There are 3,000 students just across the river. We have over 5,000 students, and the average income of our school district is quite significantly more than that school district. I'm not quite sure I understand, but I think now is a great time for us to add middle school lacrosse to the program. And with 40 seconds left, because Coach Mo is here, I have our current high school coach who will be speaking. He, when we have the ball with 20 seconds left, 29, 28, give me some latitude, I started right at. In the last 20 seconds, when we try to score a goal, we get it to our best player, and then he starts to attack the goal with 18 seconds. I just want to say this year, our shooter shirts, which go under our team jerseys, you can put something on the back that hangs below, okay? Just below the waist. It's family, all right? And our high school program needs some little brothers in the middle school feeding into the program. Thank you.
Good evening. Dear school board members, my name is Jennifer Della Penna. I'm a resident of South Coventry Township. I currently have 2 students enrolled in OJR, a daughter in 8th grade and a son in 11th grade. My oldest son graduated from the district in 2020. Well, 3 of my children have been members of the Coventry Youth Lacrosse Program. My 2020 graduate was a member of the JV and varsity boys lacrosse teams, losing his senior season in 2020. My 11th grade son is a 3rd-year varsity member and captain of the current high school boys lacrosse team, and my youngest daughter is a member of the 8th grade middle school girls lacrosse team. In addition to myself and my husband, we have been volunteers, coaches, and board members for Coventry. I am currently the acting president of Coventry Youth Lacrosse. I'm here tonight on behalf of Coventry Youth Lacrosse. I would like the board to consider adding middle school boys lacrosse as a 7th and 8th grade sanctioned sport in Owen J. Roberts. Currently, the 7th and 8th grade boys that reside in Owen J. Roberts' only opportunity to advance their sport past the recreational program lacrosse require them to join travel teams. Aside from very costly fees and equipment, these teams require parents to travel great distances weekly to allow for lacrosse instruction and training for their players. My own sons have both played through recreational levels with volunteer coaches that have limited training to meet the needs of the developing players beyond 5th and 6th grade. Parents are forced to pay for the travel level programs to advance their players' lacrosse IQ and receive the coaching they need to be competitive at the high school level. All strong high school programs in the Owen J. Roberts District, I'm going to use the girls' high school lacrosse program as an example, begin with the youth and then develop through the middle school years with curriculum and coaching fundamentals developed within the programs. I know that the school board is committed to supporting sports, activities, arts, and music programs for all students. Approving middle school boys lacrosse would align with the sports program philosophy of equal teams to match the sanctioned high school sports. In 2007, high school boys lacrosse was added to the PIAA approved sports as a competitive team. In the past 16 years, the boys program has slowly declined due to multiple factors. However, other neighboring districts have seen steady increases as they've added boys middle school programs. In the Pac-10 currently, 6 other districts we compete against all currently have boys middle school lacrosse teams. During the 2022 season, Owen J. Roberts boys high school lacrosse team made their way back to the Pac-10 championship game after nearly a 5-year hiatus from the matchup. Without a rising feeder program, including a strong middle school program, this is unlikely to happen again in the next 5 years. Currently, the high school team has only 3 seniors and a very young team of juniors, sophomores, and freshmen making up their varsity squad. Additionally, the high school boys team is on their 4th coach in 5 years. That in itself is a great challenge in working to build a solid program. Most recently, Coach Kevin Moe is at the helm for the high school boys program, and his vision is clear: start with the youth, and the program will thrive. Coventry Lacrosse alone can't support a strong boys middle school program. However, in conjunction with the Owen J. Roberts Middle School boys team, we can create a cohesive, solid program working together towards a common goal, a competitive high school program that's the example of boys lacrosse in the PAC. Therefore, I would like to move forward with a motion to add boys middle school lacrosse as a
That's
sanctioned
3
7th
minutes.
and 8th grade sport in the rising years. and
Thank you for
beyond.
comment.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kevin Moe, Collegeville area. I'm the head boys lacrosse coach here. I once perked Yeoman Valley in that district. I know, not the greatest school, competitively. But growing up through my time in the youth, I've seen Coventry lacrosse many of times, playing against them and seeing those kids develop all the way up to high school. Like Mr. Akaye said, they used to be prolific against playing Springford, playing against us in our rivalries, but typically those 2 teams playing at the very top tier of Pac-10 lacrosse. Currently, I'm trying to get us back there. The youth is becoming starting to wash out with talent as we are getting less players involved, strictly sometimes because they just want to play a school-sponsored sport, like baseball or track. Sometimes when we have games, I see the track team walk across, they have 216 members, is what I was told the number was, for middle school alone. I don't see why some of those kids could potentially not want to try lacrosse or something like that, or any other sort of student involved like that. I think growing our youth, like Mr. Kaye said, we put family on the back of our shirt. I'm actually wearing it under this. Doesn't really matter too much, but trying to build that family and that culture and giving these upper high school guys their little brothers that they can try to grow and mold along with me and my other coaching staff there. So I hope you all do think about it kindly. Thank you.
Okay, we have no hands raised online. Agenda item 15.1, board discussion, follow-up, and request for information. Can I make a request that, I appreciate the parents and coach coming out today to talk about the middle school lacrosse program. I will say that is not the only set of parents that have approached me this year about starting different teams within our within the Owen J. Roberts School District. Can we find a time, a working session time, to perhaps have our athletic director or whoever would be appropriate to come out and help the board understand and help the community understand how best to approach new programming, what is required of us when we add sports teams, what that looks like, what how we make sure to follow any sort of Title IX needs that to be equitable for all of our students, and what that process looks like, so that any of the parents or community members who are interested can get an idea of what that process may be, specifically also including what timelines, what reasonable timelines might be to have programs, and how they would come to fruition.
Also, along with that, perhaps gauging student interest as far as numbers. There may be students in the middle school that are on other teams that would have preferred to be on a lacrosse team and would not have that opportunity. But of course, you also don't want to pull too many students from something and just have all the teams suffering. So maybe gauging student interest in some way, so we at least have some numbers in mind.
Because I assume we have added sports over the years. We must have a procedure for how we go about and do that. So let's get a better idea of what that procedure is.
Can we reach out to the coaches and such too, so they know we're going to have? Okay.
Thank you.
I want to go ahead and formally request that information around the Dean of Students for that further discussion, as well as Principal Stoltzfus to come in and have that conversation with us as well.
Yeah, and regarding that, obviously, I felt compelled to kind of hold my line on that, because I do know that sometimes as board members, we do get things thrown at us that are big, and we don't have a lot of time for consideration, and then something is in process, and then it really seems very difficult to undo or backpedal or change course. And so I definitely want to make sure that we understand all the ramifications of all of it, before we move forward, and not, create a difficult situation, or especially not an embarrassing one for a potential staff member.
Mrs. Peterson, I believe that Mr. Hermanos may have something to say.
Yeah, sorry, I was, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was muted during the discussion about the sports teams, but I too have been approached by, I think it was the volleyball coach, to get a girls' middle school volleyball program started, and I'm interested in helping him out. And one thing that was mentioned during my investigation of that was the whole Title IX thing. So maybe the boys lacrosse and the girls volleyball would balance each other out in middle school. But I think, some working session on that would be very helpful.
Is that information the AD can provide for us? I'm sure there's probably other teams than just those two. I don't want to start a run on.
Right. We also have other teams that are about to start. For instance, I believe we're starting a girls wrestling program, and so how would that impact?
Sure.
Right, that has to come before the board yet too, so we
Right.
can definitely have.
So yeah, there are
Dr.
multiple
Cuthbert.
teams that have approached about starting, and of course, part of that will also be a determination of space availability and resource availability, and so, but I think the first step is all of us understanding what the policy and the procedure is for moving forward with any sports team and going from there.
Yeah, and I guess a question for Brian is there a Title IX issue if it's a club sport and they're not competing PIAA?
The club sport, it depends on what district resources are being dedicated to the sport as far as Title IX goes. So it would, club sport, if it's, again, you would be looking at the actual support vis-a-vis coaching, stipends, facilities use, et cetera, regarding any equitable participation under Title IX.
Thank you.
Is there any additional requests for information or follow-up?
I have something real quick, just
Sure.
on a different topic. Jackie, would it be possible to have an update from the Schrader Group at our next working session on the capital projects?
Sure, absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask again. Is there any other additional follow-up?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, sorry, with Jackie, that you said by the next time we meet, there'll be more information around the bus issue, right? That we can.
Yes, I am, absolutely, we're waiting for the proposal. And it doesn't come from the bus drivers, it does come
Right.
from GNL management.
I thought that's
So,
what I heard, just
yep,
confirming. Thank you.
absolutely.
Okay. With that, 16.1, the meeting is adjourned.